Okay, we left off yesterday talking about valve overlap, and we talked about all the reasons behind the valve overlap, and I said, so this right here, believe it or not, is the same thing as this. There you go. Just my version versus the book version. So valve overlap, 75 degrees, both valve open. I just did a little bit different. So if we look at valve overlap right here, how many degrees is that?
75 degrees.
Well, it's 50 degrees right here plus 25, so valve overlap is 75 degrees. All right. And then I kind of went through a whole lot of stuff, so I think maybe I can back up just a little bit, and let's see if we can fill in some stuff here. And what's the purpose behind this valve overlap? Volumetric efficiency. What was the last note that I wrote, actually? That was like duration, intake valve. Let me see. Oh, there we go. All right, duration, intake valve. Opens 50 degrees before top dead center. All right. It's very unprofessional, wasn't it? Okay, so you have a copy of that on your notes so you can reference it back. All right, so I said intake valve opens 50 degrees before it reaches top dead center. And then I will say, so this is continuing on from that line. So one was opens 50 degrees before the piston reaches TDC. Got that? Mm-hmm. Okay, this allows the use of low pressure created by use of low pressure created by escaping exhaust gas to pull in, okay, fuel air, and I'm going to abbreviate fuel air from here on out as FA, fuel air mixture. So what does that all mean? Well, I said that the intake valve opens 50 degrees before the reach top dead center. That allows the use of low pressure created by the escaping. Okay, because the exhaust valve is already open and it's still open. So if you open it early while the exhaust valve is open and the intake valve is open, you have that low pressure created and it helps draw in the air. Let me see. However, so if that's good, then why not a little bit more, right? If early is good, a little earlier might be even better? No. Okay, why not? It just doesn't work that way. If valve opens too early, exhaust gas, exhaust is abbreviated EX, exhaust gases flow back into the intake manifold. And the intake manifold is the pipes that connect to the cylinder where all the fuel air comes in. So you have the pipes come down and it goes down the carburetor. So if you open up the intake valve too early, then what's going to happen is some of that exhaust gas, instead of finding its way out of the exhaust valve, it will want to go backwards through the other way, or it opens up and you still have enough heat in there that you can create a fire that goes back through the carburetor. Into intake manifold and ignite, incoming fuel air mixture. What is that called? Backfire. So sometimes you see, TV or something, cars going and boom, it blows out of the tailpipe. They're backfired. It's not a backfire. Backfire is when it goes backwards. That's an afterfire.
Traction blows off the blower?
Yeah, that's right. So it's like if you burp, that is a backfire. But if you... that's an afterfire. I prefer it if you had a backfire than after. All right. And we're still talking about the intake valve. It closes about 30 degrees after bottom dead center. And so it's closing late. So it goes all the way down to bottom dead center and starts going back up. Why is it waiting so long to do that? So this allows the inertia of the moving intake gas. I talked about the inertia of the gases coming in to still go in and fill up the cylinder while it's for volumetric efficiency to fill it more. Okay, this allows the inertia of moving gases. Roll up just a little bit of moving gases. To fill the cylinder. To fill the cylinder before the piston starts compressing. And what about the exhaust valve now? Exhaust valve. All right, it opens, exhaust valve, exhaust valve opens about 30 degrees. Now this is coming out of your book, because it's talking about a bunch of different engines. So otherwise it's a little more exact, but it just starts to come off its seat. So there really isn't a lot of room right there. Opens about 30 degrees before bottom dead center. Which stroke?
For exhaust.
Yep. Power. So it's opening about 30 degrees inside of the power stroke. So power stroke is on its way down. Piston is still coming down. It doesn't get to the bottom. It's about 30 degrees before, and the exhaust valve opens up. Why is it opening up so early?
Because everything's already been spent.
Everything's already been sent, which is exactly it. This allows the expanding gases to start evacuating the cylinder at the end of the power stroke. So this allows the expanding gases to start evacuating, evacuating the cylinder at the end of the power stroke. At the end of the power stroke. All right, let me see. Because most of the energy of the fuel-air mixture, so most of the energy, most of the energy of the FA, what is FA? Fuel-air mixture. Fuel-air mix is expended, which means there's really not much energy left, by about 80 to 120 degrees after top dead center. So if we go, I'm going to scroll back up, we'll look at this. So here's the piston right here, and it's working its way down, and it's coming down, down, down. So somewhere around 80 to 120 degrees down of crankshaft travel. So halfway down will be 90. So a little before that, somewhere after, depending on the specific engine, it's all the gases have expended. They've done all the work they can possibly do. So again, leaving it in the cylinder is simply going to heat the cylinder, melt the piston. Not good. Start heating the oil up. Everything goes bad. So most energy is expended by about 120 degrees after top dead center of power stroke. You're that far behind?
Oh, no.
All right. You ever hear people talk about the power band? Yeah. I had a motorcycle with a titanium power band. It's sweet. Okay, so that's not real. He's like, what? See, in the motorcycle world, especially, dirt bikes, people say, oh, yeah, I'm a power band this, power band that. Well, you broke your power band. Okay, a power band is not a thing. It is the area which the engine develops its most power. Like some engines don't develop a lot of power at idle. It really starts developing a lot more power when you get up in high RPMs, or like diesel engines tend to have low range power. So it's the RPM band where you find a particular engine gets power. So I don't know, I just saw the word power stroke, and then I was thinking about power band, and just to tell you what a power band is. So if somebody says they got a titanium power band, it's like, no, you don't. It's a thing. It's a arc on an RPM gauge. So all right. So allowing heat to escape early, to escape. That might be escape. But it looks like escape. Escape early. Early allows the engine to run cooler. Rather than transferring the heat to the piston. It goes piston, then it goes rings, then it goes to the cylinder wall, then it goes to the cooling fins. And that's the path that the heat has to take in the combustion chamber. So piston transfers it to the rings transfer it to the cylinder wall transfers it to the cooling fins that are coming out the top of the cylinder, or around the cylinder. And then it closes at about 20, closes at about 25 degrees after top dead center to allow. What's the matter? Okay.
I was just asking.
To allow inertia to scavenge. What does scavenge mean? To scavenge, well, I'll write the whole thing. Scavenge remaining exhaust gases. Gases. Okay, so what does the word scavenge mean here? To collect, it's kind of getting rid of, really. So, scavenge is more of a collection, but you're trying to get rid of the exhaust gases in the cylinder. And it goes through that theory I talked about. If I open up this window and that window, I can get a flow through. So trying to get a flow through, get the exhaust gases out, because if my cylinder is full of nasty old exhaust gases, the incoming fuel and air is not going to have clean air to burn. So it's just going to spray fuel in something that, no air, no oxygen, not going to work. And exhaust gases, and help bring in the fuel air mix. All right, see if I can abbreviate some of this. We don't have to get so wordy. Valve overlap. Well, now you know why they are. What is valve overlap? There you go. Both valves are open or off the seat. You can say it either way, open or off the seat at the same time. And how do I measure valve overlap? Okay. Measured by degrees. Degrees of what?
Crank rotation.
Okay, crank rotation. Crank is just abbreviation for crankshaft. Crank rotation. Crank rotation. All right, so you do, on the FA test, have to figure out valve duration. And I'm going to ask you the same thing. So let's see if we can do this. So if I said, determine Determine valve duration. So again, what is valve duration? Because that's the test question. Determine the valve duration. So you have to figure out what? When the exhaust is off the seat, when the intake is off the seat, or both are off the seat?
Three.
Both at the same time. Okay, so you have to figure that out. So let me see here. So what if I gave you the following? If the following. And this just happens to be a Continental, abbreviate Continental E185, which is an interesting engine, I think. I don't like them. I wouldn't want one. But the Continental E185 happens to be 470 cubic inches. Cubic inches. That's a very common Continental size motor. The Continentals pretty much go, the four cylinders go up to 200, an O200. So an O200 is a 200 cubic inch. Then it goes into, well, now they got a bunch of new models, but it used to be then they went into the IO 360, but now they got a 240 in there, which is a 360 minus two cylinders. Then it go into the 470, then the IO 520, and then the 550 is the big one. So that's the cubic inches. These are all 6-cylinder, and these are the 4-cylinder models now. Anyway, so the E185, notice that doesn't fit any of these models because it was the first version of this motor, so they just called it the E, because way back in the day, they had the A65, and what else do they have? The C90. I don't know about a D. Then they went with the E185. And so, I don't want to bore you with stories, but I'll just tell you. So anyway, what happened is the World War II is ending, and Beechcraft, they're already making the Staggerwing Beech. I don't know if we have a picture of the Staggerwing Beech. They are sweet. But they're all fabric. They're wood and fabric. Oh, there's the red one up there. They're just gorgeous. So Staggerwing Beech. So it's got a big radial engine on the front. It's all tube and fabric. Massive amount of hours go into building this thing. So Beech wants to design a plane for all the pilots coming out of the war that they're going to buy, something faster than anything else out there. And so Beech designs this really sweet airplane with a V-tail on the back, and it's fast. But the problem they have is, well, the biggest engines out there, I think, was about the C90, which is 90 horsepower, and the A65 was 865. So they need something bigger. So they need about 185 horsepower. That's the E185. So they went to both Continental and Lycoming and said, "Hey, would you produce an engine for our new plane?" And Continental produced the E185, which was a flat 6-cylinder, an opposed 6-cylinder with a direct drive propeller. Lycoming produced some sort of 4-cylinder, I don't remember what it was, but it had a gear reduction on it. So the engine turned a lot faster to get the horsepower. We'll talk about why that is on a gear reduction. The book I read said that Beech actually liked the Lycoming a little bit better. Both had 185 horsepowers, so they went to Lycoming and said, "Okay, you get our contract, build it." And Lycoming said, "Great, we'll start building it at," and they gave him a date. Said, no, that won't work. And they went back to Continental and said, "When can you start?" And they much sooner. So Continental got the contract, and that's why Continentals went into Beechcraft. And then the aircraft became a smashing success. I think it's one of the longest running production aircraft ever, the variants of the Beech model. So there you go. There's some history for you. Let's see. Back to this. So what are we doing here? Okay. So we have, I'm going to abbreviate. So IO. What do you think IO stands for?
Rejected.
No. Intake?
Opens.
Okay. Although who said injected opposed?
Oh yeah, 'cause you were just talking about like C85.
It is. He's correct. So if I just said an IO 550, that's an injected opposed. So I'm abbreviating. Okay. Intake opens 15 degrees before top dead center. And then I would say exhaust opens 55 degrees before bottom dead center. And I would say intake closes, intake closes 60 degrees after bottom dead center. And then we have to have exhaust closes, right? Exhaust closes at 15 degrees after top dead center. So what if it were me, and I am me, or I could say if you're like me, and I know I am, or if you're like others, and who isn't, that's a joke. I would set this out, I would draw it out, because I just would. So I would draw it out the same way. I would say exhaust, intake, what's next? Nope. Compression, power, exhaust, intake. All right, so I'm going to draw all these out. Just kind of do it like that. So there's everything. And then, if you have a colored pen, I'd say let's start with the intake. So the intake, well, I know the intake is going to be open here on the intake stroke, right? Yes, I hope you know that. And the exhaust must be open on the exhaust stroke, because that is normal, correct? So all engines are going to start that way. Then I can go back up here and say, okay, what about this intake? Intake opens 15 degrees this way. So I just go 15. And the intake closes 60 degrees this way. I just put a thing there and put 60. That, am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I can finish this one off, went this way, 15 degrees. Doesn't have to be accurate. 1, 5. Just gotta do some sort of diagram. Okay, exhaust opens 55 degrees before bottom dead center. So, let's see. Exhaust opens. Oh, we could do this too. We could do exhaust is pushing out. Intake is sucking in. Compression is going up. Power is going that way. This is going that way, and that's going that way. That way we can go, okay, this is top dead center. This is bottom dead center. This is top dead center. Everybody knows why I do this, right? Bottom dead center and top dead center. All right, just to make sure I'm reading it right. Okay, so exhaust opens 55 degrees before bottom dead center. Exhaust opens 55. So it opens 55 degrees before here. Okay, that looks good. So we'll go this way, and it's 55, 55. And exhaust closes 15 degrees. So right here, 15 degrees, and right here, 15 degrees. What's my valve overlap?
50 degrees.
15 and 15.
50 degrees.
All right. So let me see. Valve duration. Intake is open. There's more to this. Let me think. Let's see if I can write that over here. So I'm going to ask you, intake valve is open. How many degrees in total?
75.
Okay, but everybody see how I got this. I don't know if it's 75. Intake is open. How many degrees? Now, I've got intake, exhaust, intake, compression, power, exhaust, intake. I have to look at just this, right? Because this is one full stroke.
Yeah.
Okay, so during the stroke, how many degrees is the intake valve open? Okay, I know it's getting a little messy, sorry. So, intake.
The full one is 180 degrees.
Okay, I got right here, this is 180.
Yeah.
So I have 180 plus,
Plus 15 plus 16.
plus right here, how much is this?
60.
Plus 60 plus
15.
15. Everybody see that? If you didn't, don't be lost. Don't be just going, God, I hope I get it someday. I hope tonight while I'm sleeping it comes to me.
Can you do it again?
Janet, you got it?
Can you do it again?
Okay, I thought so. Okay, so kind of wish that was bigger and less messy. Can I try it again down here? Okay, so exhaust, intake. What's next? Compression, power, exhaust, intake. All right, so make my little lines. And then maybe I want to do this. So I know that's top dead center. Piston's going down. Piston's going up. Piston's going down. Piston's going up. Piston's going down. And I said that, let me see. So again, so I'm going to draw in my intakes. Intake valve always open on the intake stroke?
Yes.
Intake valve always open on the intake stroke? All right. Exhaust always open on the exhaust stroke? Always open on the exhaust stroke. Okay, so that's the basic engine always. The super basic. And where does the spark happen? On the basic, super basic engine.
Top dead center.
Right here. Okay, does it really work this way?
No.
No, but it could. This would run. This would run fine. All right. Well, it'd run okay. So I can do this. Now I'm going to go back to what I'm looking at a little bit ago. So I say the intake, well, back to intake. Intake opens 15 degrees before top dead center. 15 degrees before top dead center. Stop. So 15 degrees. It's got to open 15 degrees early, right? So 15. And if it does that here, it's also doing it over here, 15 degrees early, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to put 15. And then I say, I'll look at when does it close. So the intake closes 60 degrees after bottom dead center. Here's bottom dead center. We see that bottom dead center is right here. And it's going to close after that. So after that. How much? This particular one is 60. Right? And it doesn't matter if I'm even accurate. I just put 60. I just got to make it go this way and go 60. And I don't even have anything over this way because it's just, you know, I only need one cycle. And then exhaust. Okay, so exhaust is going to open 55 degrees early. Well, I don't have any room going that way, so it's fine because it's a different stroke. So it's 55 degrees early. 55 degrees early. And it's going to close 15 degrees late, right? 15 degrees after top dead center. Hey, there's top dead center at the top, so I'm correct, and I put 15 degrees here. So I look at this. Okay, now remember, I'm looking at one complete cycle. And one complete cycle goes from, everybody watching, from right here to right here. That is one complete cycle. Intake, compression, power, exhaust. One cycle. 4 strokes. Got it? Everybody's got it. Everybody's with me?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question is, what is valve overlap?
Two valves are up.
Valve overlap. Okay, good. You gave me the definition. When both valves are open at the same time. Looking at this, when are both valves open at the same time? Right here. Is it right here?
Yeah.
Okay. How many degrees is this? 30. 30 degrees. If I said, what's valve overlap? You go, 30 degrees. If I said, how many degrees? How many degrees? Yeah?
But the cycle yanks there, right? Doesn't matter.
The other side?
No, the cycle yanks on the exhaust, right?
Yes.
But you still count to 30.
Well, yeah, because it's never ending.
It's a never ending. So, okay, good point. Why did I suddenly go outside? Because I have to do a never ending
Okay.
thing to see the valve overlap. Because if I only looked at this and this, I eliminated the intake on one side and exhaust on the other, then, so like that, you can't see what I'm doing. But if I did that, then we would never ever see the valve overlap because it happens kind of simultaneously. Actually, I got to put this over here too. I
Yeah,
forgot.
double pass there, so you got to count that.
So this has to go this way, 15. So, follow? Okay. So again, it's valve overlap is also here at 30 degrees. So valve overlap. But how many degrees, let's say how many degrees is intake open? Okay, now I can't go outside of my 4 strokes. If I go outside of my 4 strokes, then it's like, well, where are you going to start? Where are you going to stop? So I have to now look inside of my 4 strokes. And so when I do that, I hope I don't regret this. I won't do that. So I've got to look right here. So from here, this point right here, can you see my cursor? Maybe I can move here. So this point right here, how many degrees is this? 180. Okay, that's 180 degrees right there. So I'm going to count that. I'll use blue. So I have 180 degrees here because this is between this line and this line. Between each one is always 180 degrees. So intake valve is open 180 plus, how much further does it go? 60. Now I didn't count this 15 right in here. Couldn't count it because it's not inside of my 4 strokes, but I keep coming around. Like, whoa, look over here. Really, I'm counting it over here. So then another 15. So 180 plus 60 plus 15 equals 225. All right, now if I said, oops, sorry, 255. 255. 255. All right, so how many degrees is the exhaust open? All right, so exhaust. Now let's look at the exhaust. So we're going to start right here again. So I've got how many? 15 plus 55 plus 180. Everybody see where I got that? For a total of, I'll try to screw it up, 250 degrees. So the valve is off its seat, the exhaust valve is off its seat 250 degrees during that time. How much time is it between the start right here to the end right here? 720. How do I get that? 180 plus 180 plus 180 plus 180 equals 720. So 700 degrees of crankshaft rotation. And then valve overlap, I said was 30. Well, let me ask you this. How many degrees, how many degrees are both valves closed?
30 from 690.
So it's got to be a period where no valve is open. What do we got? How many in the intake? How many in the intake are both valves? Are both valves on their seat? 0. How many degrees right here in the compression?
120.
100. Well, where do you get 120?
180 minus
Okay, it's 180 minus the 60 right here. So that means from here to here is 100. Is how much? 120. So we got 120. So right there we got how many degrees are both valves closed? Oops, I'm running out of room. 120 plus how many here?
180 minus 55.
Okay, 180 minus 55 is 125 is correct. 125. How many in the exhaust stroke? 0. That's the end of the stroke. So it's how many degrees are both valves closed? 245. Okay, this is something you should be able to do. This is on the test. It's on the FA test. It's on my test. Right? It's in your Q&As. So how do you do it? When you get the test, you're going to have scratch paper and you're going to write out this graph. Unless you're just really good at just looking at this stuff. I'm not. I write out the graph. That doesn't mean I'm good. It means I write out the graph, right? So I'm going to write out the graph. And then I'm going to just do the little thing, up and down, intake valve closed. I can answer all the possible questions that they ask me. So, everybody good with that? If you are not, you need to get good. Okay. You need to get good. Whoa. I got to erase find some fresh real estate here. Okay. So 4. Ignition timing. Well, what makes the fuel air mixture go bang? Doesn't go bang, does it?
Spark heat.
It burns at a particular rate. So what makes the fuel air mixture start burning? The spark plug does. Okay. Well, and in our base models where the spark always went at top dead center. All right, but we know that's not true because I've told you that and you just kind of know that anyway, but in the same way, valves open and close early. I can't even spell early. Maybe it's time to go. Close early and late, because sometimes they open early and they close late, right? Because they're designed that way. We're also going to talk another time about a valve. I don't want to do that. Close, because that's just going to close before and after TDC/BDC, which is another. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Because if I use the term close early or close late, that's going to confuse you when I talk about a valve that closes late. A valve that closes late really means that it should have closed, but yet it didn't. Took too long. A valve that opens early is a valve that should have opened here, but yet opened over here. And that's what you get when you mistime an engine or have improper valve clearances. So I don't want to confuse that. So in the same way that valves are opening before, top dead center, after. All right, the spark is early. The spark is, well, I'll say before top dead center. That's even better. So timing is usually about 20 to 25 degrees before top dead center. All right, helpful hint number 1. How would I know exactly where to set the timing?
The manual.
Experimentation, the manual. So later on in the next 8 weeks, you are going to have to put magnetos on a Continental engine. Then you're going to have to put them on a Lycoming engine. Then you're going to have to put them on the engine you're going to run. And part of doing this is you're going to have to put these magnetos on exactly where they're supposed to fire. Where are you going to find that information? Manual. You get half a point. Data point, maybe 3/4 of a point. Data plate should be right. TDCS. Well, you got to, because you already went through second year, so you got to give them a chip. But he's right. So the type certificate data sheet is the absolute correct answer. The Lycoming, I'm going to tell you this, and somebody here is still going to do it. In the directions in the Lycoming manual, it tells you to put the magneto on, and it literally says about, I think, a certain degree, and then it goes on to some other directions about how you're then supposed to time it correctly. And so what happens is Kevin, I'm done. Okay, all right, what'd you time it to? 25 degrees. Well, you're wrong. No, book says that. Show me where it says that. Right there where it says about, and I'm going to say, well, you're going to read the rest of the instructions to tell you to time it to the proper. No, I just pretty much keyed in on that. But it doesn't say anywhere. Yeah, I know it doesn't say anywhere. So you still got to do it right. So where does it say? It says in the type certificate data sheet. That is the authority. Let me see. Oops, we got to go around the horn. Okay, so we'll go back up. Way back. There we go. Here is the page of the type certificate data sheet. What is the timing for a Lycoming 0290-D? 25 degrees. And guess what? That is not in the manual. Lycoming puts it on their data plate. But, think it through. Have you guys seen the data plate or the sump? I'm sorry, put on the data plate which goes on the sump. Have you seen the sump for your engine yet? No. So I'm going to hand you some random sump and you're going to put it on and go, oh, random sump. I'm going off this data. Okay. Well, that would never happen out in the field, I would hope. But you have to know. So you are responsible to go to the type certificate data sheet for Lycoming 0290D and looking it up. One of the things I love about Lycoming, and I'm more of a Lycoming guy because they do this. As for example, your crankshaft gear, have you guys seen your crankshaft gear, bolts on the crankshaft? Yeah. Same crankshaft gear fits that one all the way up through, I think, the 8-cylinder 720. Same gear. Those idler gears, same gear. Idler shafts, same shafts. It's just they find a way to use the same stuff throughout their engines, and I love that because it keeps the cost down. All right, and so guess how many engines that sump might fit? You know, the 290, the 290D2, the D2B. I think it also fits the 320. It might even fit one model of the 360. So, you know, you gotta be careful with that. So, Continental. They're also, you'll notice, what is the manual that you are using? Does anybody know the title of the manual for the Lycoming book?
General manual or general overhaul manual, something like that.
Alan?
It's for all the engines.
Not all engines. The direct drive. What does that mean? Basically, every engine they make that doesn't have a propeller reduction or is not radial. So they've got the direct drive, then they've got one for the 76 series engines the H2AD, which is a special engine. And then they have the vertical engine. There's just a few of them, and it's what, that thick? Why is it only that thick? For all the engines.
Because the only difference is some options, or some.
Nobody read the first page?
It
Oh.
depends to a different
So
thing.
all the other, you told us about this last time, there's other service bulletins,
Yeah, that manual is to be used in conjunction with
service bulletins.
all service bulletins and instructions. How thick is the service instruction? Realistic. How thick is it?
Probably like a foot.
There you go. All three of them about that tall. Okay? So there's a lot more information there. And there is a service instruction that would tell you the timing, by the way. So, all right, so that's where you can find it. Continental is very different. They've got a big manual for every single one of the engines. So you just pick even down to like this one's only good for this many models within it. So there's the O200. Then there's one. The O200 lumps it in with a few, but you got they just have a lot of manuals and they put a lot more information. And their service bulletin is about that thick because they put the information. Anyway, you just got to be aware of that. Well, I got time. All right. So where are you going to find the timing? Type certificate data sheet. So nobody's going to come up to you and say, well, it says right here about. So are you allowed to vary from that? It's just 25 degrees. I mean, can you advance a little bit, get a little more power out of it? Some of you guys know how to do that, right?
Are we talking technically?
Mm-hmm.
No.
You can do everything one time.
You can do. He's right. You can do everything one time. It's never. I think Phil says this. It's never a problem until it's a problem. There was an airworthiness directive. What's an airworthiness directive?
Somebody died.
And usually several people because they're really slow at this. So it means it's written in blood, not literally because they're black. Written in black ink. So airworthiness directive. There's an airworthiness directive on Continental O200s where you had to retard the timing 4 degrees. That was it. Difference of 4 degrees was the difference of the cylinder head exploding off of the cylinder and not.
Don't mess it up.
Don't mess it up. So yeah, all the engines had to be retarded, and then Superior Air Parts, they were great for our industry. They started making aftermarket parts, and they were much better than what the factories were making, and they kind of made the factory up their game. So it started out that way. Superior said, hey, you know what? We're going to make a cylinder. And our cylinder is going to come with a type certificate, a supplement to the type certificate. You buy our cylinders, we're going to hand you a piece of paper that legally lets you take the timing and bump it back up to where it used to be, which is 28, I think. So 28. So you get a little more, get some of that power back that you might have lost. And so everybody was buying Superior cylinders, and Continental was kind of like, we're not selling very many parts. And then Superior started selling nice piston pins and rocker shafts, and they were selling them for a fraction less than what the factory was, and they were good quality parts, and so everybody was doing that. So anyway, then the OEMs upped their game and started making nicer stuff, and then ECI, Engine Components Incorporated, got in the game, and I thought their stuff was really good and even less expensive. And then what happened? Then Continental bought them out, and that's why you can buy stuff from Continental for Lycoming engines, because they bought ECI. That would probably bore you, I'm sorry. Okay, so timing is usually about 20-25 degrees before top dead center. Firing order. Firing order. All right, the order, that is the order in which cylinders are fired. Cylinders are fired. Yeah, there'll be a test question on the Superior thing. I just went out loud. I was going to say that. All right. So cylinder number is not standard. Is not standard on opposed. What's an opposed engine? Opposite, flat, like you guys are using an opposed engine. Your engine's opposed. On opposed or inline. I think it is on radials. So, Lycoming. Let's look at Lycoming. Light combing. It'd be better if I had a picture, but I want to screw it up. Let's see. Light combing. Number 1 is the right front, so number 1 is right front. Who's right? When you're standing behind the engine. And then, let me see. And then we'll just do this. Continental. These are the 2 major manufacturers that are left. Number 1 is right rear. Number 1 is right rear. But the firing order is the same. So 4-cylinder, CYL cylinder, opposed. Firing order is 1, 3, 2, 4. If I didn't know that, where would I find this information?
Could be on the casting.
It's usually on the casting. I've never seen an engine that did not have it printed right on the casting. So all engines I've ever seen has it printed somewhere on the casting. So it's cast in aluminum, so it must be true. Let's see. Note. That engine fires right, left. And this is a Q&A question. It is designed for balance and to eliminate vibration. Ooh, I think I know. 4-cylinder opposed. Well, I really messed that up. OPPOSED, opposed. I think. Let me see. Nope. Let's try and get to the right page. We'll go with this one. I did. Look at that. Oh, dang it. Just when you think you got your life figured out, right? There we go. Firing order. Light coming horizontally opposed engines, the 4-cylinder. So we got my 4-cylinder. So this is light coming. So I got right front, 1, 3, 2, 4. So it's going to go right, left, right, left, right, left. And I think I did one for Continental's next. Yes, it's backwards. So 1 is here, but it's still 1, 3, 2, 4. 1, 3, 2, 4. Right, left, right, left. So. All right. I will tell you this. 6-cylinder, I don't even try and figure it out. 6 cylinders, 145236. 145236. 145236. It's totally different. I just wrote what we're like coming in. So it's very different. So I just, because of that, I've never memorized either one of them, and I just look at the plate, or I just put a little placard if I'm working on an engine so I can go through it and memorize it. And kind of when you're working on a 6-cylinder Continental, you sort of get it when you're doing it. You guys 163254. What's that?
It just makes it B from the back, right?
Okay, so it's 1, 6, 3,
Oh, no. No, you
2, 5, 4.
So it's just back.
No.
Oh, well, this is light coming.
Okay.
That's light coming.
Okay, so I was wondering.
I was just comparing the two.
I got you.
So here, light coming. So you're back here, 145, 145, 236.
Seems like that makes
Two.
much more
That makes more sense, doesn't it?
The
145,
8-cylinder is weird.
236. Let me see this one here. So if we did it 1, 6, 3. No, it just doesn't work out. 2, 5, 4. 2, 5, 4. It kind of does. If you do it like that, you can see a little pattern showing up in there. And which one was weird?
The 8-cylinder.
8-cylinder. Let me see. 8. 8.
1583226. 674.
Oops. Oops. 158. 3 2. Yeah. 326. 74. 74. Yeah, it's all over the place. So, all right.
Like it skips one.
Let's see. Yes, it does skip one.
Skips one
It's
on the
just
same bank.
it doesn't skip
How
one.
come you have two for Leica wing?
I don't know. All right, take a break.